Here's slugging first baseman Jim Gentile in the Baltimore Orioles batting cage, telling young Wendy Miller to keep his eye on the ball and his wrist firm. Now Wendy's up.
Keep swinging like that, Wendy, and you'll hit 300 anywhere. Hey, you still using that greasy kid stuff on your hair? Huh? You ought to switch to Vitalis. Keeps your hair neat all day without grease. Tell you what, use that greasy cream, and I'll use Vitalis. That's it. Rub it in good. Now comb it. Now let's look at your comb. Look at the grease on it. But not Vitalis. And Vitalis never feels greasy. Come on, get that greasy kid stuff out of your hair. Then get with Vitalis. Hey, that's more like it. Now your hair looks great.
Vitalis with V7 fights embarrassing dandruff, prevents dryness. Keeps your hair neat all day without grease.
I'm Paul Richards, the manager of the Baltimore Club, and for the last 5 years we've been building a young ball club here in Baltimore, and at this time we've got a fine group of young players, all of them eager to play baseball, and I personally feel that if I can provide the kind of leadership that will convince them that I'm getting the most out of them, that we have a strong pennant contender. Actually, I have seen many of these players grow up. I've visited their homes, trained them, and watched them grow from boys to men. This year, we feel that with an early start and a lot of extra work, we have a real contender and a real chance to be the American League champions.
The Sunday Sports Spectacular presents the story of Paul Richards, manager of the Baltimore Orioles and the American League's Manager of the Year. Brought to you by Schlitz, the beer with the kiss of the hops flavor. Schlitz, the beer that made Milwaukee famous. And by L&M. Let your taste come alive. Reach for flavor. Reach for L&M. And by Rise Instant Lather. Rise, the original instant lather with extra soaking action.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Bud Palmer, and welcome to another Sports Spectacular. Today we take a deep, intense look into the mind and methods of Paul Richards, a baseball manager whom many call great.
Last season, this largely inexperienced team burst out of the second division, soared and exploded among the startled leaders. In early September, the Birds swept a 3-game series with the Yanks, going into first place. And here's Brooks Robinson hitting a home run. And Jack Fisher completing a shutout against the Yankees. But then, 2 weeks later, under blazing pressure from the old pros, the young pros lost 4 to the Yankees' power, ending their pennant drive. Nevertheless, the Baltimore Orioles had made their mark on the modern baseball world. They finished in second place, which came as a surprise to most of the experts.
As we begin a new baseball season, the question still remains, was last season's performance just a single burst of brilliance, or was it, as many people believe, the first signs of glory of a new and lasting regime in Major League Baseball? The answer to the riddle of Baltimore lies in the mind of one man, Paul Richards, the American League's Manager of the Year. We're going to look over his shoulder, sort of listen as he talks to his players as he prepares for the season ahead during spring training at Miami Stadium in Miami, Florida.
How Paul Richards uses these early days of training, traditionally the period devoted to pitchers, is characteristic of his approach to baseball.
Don't get there so quick now, Fred.
The pitcher to second base throw is one that can beat a pitcher every time, he says, if not executed properly.
Be getting ready now, Jerry, and getting your weight on your back foot. It's all right to get it there, but don't thoroughly commit yourself, Hoyt. Wait a minute. I don't have a ball.
Spend the time on fundamentals, not trick plays, says Richards, and you've got something that works for you every day.
Did you find him, Hoy? Don't come at all sometimes, Fred. Maybe you fall down. You don't know. Or whether this fellow's coming now. Be sure he's coming, Milton. Don't throw the ball away. Pick him up. You can't miss him that way. Can't miss him.
Now here's how a ball game goes down the drain.
Well, there you are, Chuck. See, you're not getting set, and you didn't set yourself to throw the ball. That's the thing right there. That's a big inning, 5 runs.
Only a short time each day goes into actual pitching.
He got a catcher, Gus. Yeah, Staniland's going to catch batting practice.
Isn't one of your basic principles that you lose more ball games than you win? What I mean by errors.
Well, actually, Bud, baseball, the romance of baseball, and the sports writers and the magazine writers, and who glorify the home run and the triple and the runs batted in and that sort of thing, are more in demand. I mean, that type of thing is more in demand for the readers, when the actual, and literally, it is the defense that wins or loses the games. In other words, if you can play a team and you have good pitching and you make no mistakes and you catch the ball and you make your plays, if you'll stay with that team long enough, then they'll give you the game. Bob, go straight to the base now. Don't go inside. Go straight to it. Hey, hold it a minute, Chuck. You fellas covering first base, running up that line about 10 feet, you know there's a few guys going to beat you there. You can't spot them that much and beat them to first base. Here, when you leave here, go straight to the base. Go straight to it. As straight as you go. Don't run up the line and curve in. I can name you about 3 guys that you're dead if you try that. Especially if you get a little bit of a late jump.
It's the little things.
Go straight to the base. You can handle the ball all right.
Never assume a player, even a major league player, knows what you think he does, Richard says. He may not, and it might lose you a game or 2 or 3 during the season. It might cost you the pennant.
Don't, Hoyt. Come straight.
Don't give him the ball game. Let him give it to you.
And then turn in. Try to turn in, see? With your right foot. Go ahead. Atta boy. That's it, Gordon. Now come inside. See? That's perfect. Change up here, Brownie.
Well, no, actually... Pitchers don't throw too much. In the bullpen, some of them go over the batters with Coach Harry Burkeen. Only left-hander ever to win 3 games in a single World Series.
If I had to stay any length of time, I would back off. The rule says 1 second, but actually if you hit here, that's enough on that. But
in other words, on a guy like Aparicio, you should never try and do the same thing twice.
No. Actually, in pitching and you're holding your man on, you can stop here and pitch, see. If you stop, that's counting the stop. If I do this, it's a ball. So on Aparicio, if you stopped here and pitched, would be all right. Next time you come up, you stop down here, see. You could go 2 places on him. It would help you.
All right, if you went out and stopped for about 2 seconds one time and go ahead and throw. Yeah. The next time, just come to your stop and throw.
That's right, yeah. But don't do the same thing as much as 3 times, because he will know what's going to happen. And although he is a great base runner.
In other words, you can't do, you should always try and change on a guy like that.
Yes, yeah.
We asked Lee MacPhail, Oriole general manager, about Richards.
Lee MacPhail, what do you think makes Paul Richards such a great manager?
Well, I would say, first of all, Paul is extremely thorough. And I think that is probably what has made him the fine teacher that he is. Secondly, I would say that he amazes me and for the amount of patience that he shows. He is extremely patient with young ball players, and I think that has had a great deal to do with the fact that he's been able to bring young players along as quickly as he has. These two things, plus, of course, his great interest in baseball, it's his whole life, his ability as a leader, he commands the respect of his players. I think these things are the things that have made Paul the #1 manager in baseball today.
Well, why do you think he's so good with young pitchers, such a successful record with young pitchers?
Well, he's a fine instructor of pitchers. I think he knows just about all there is to know about pitching. He studied it, and he puts in a great deal of time with our young pitchers. Harry Brackeen and Paul work as a team together, and they spend an awful lot of time with our pitching staff. While the ball game and exhibition game is in progress, Harry and Paul will be working in the bullpen on the sidelines with some young pitcher. And it's hard work and the know-how, I think, that goes into the results that have been shown with our young pitching staff.
But it's not just youngsters. Veterans like Gordon Jones here, Hoyt Wilhelm, Skinny Brown have begun new careers under Paul.
Because you've got enough motion. You don't have to put on any act, see? Because that tips it off, too. I mean, excess motion is as bad as
I know that on my fastball, I know I hurry right at the last.
Yeah, but you're doing a little bit more here than you are with that, you see. So go ahead. Just go through with it. That's almost what you want. A little more motion at the end, and that's perfect. It's looking a little better.
The Paul Richards influence reaches deep into the Oriole farm system via former major leaguers like Fred Hatfield, now manager of the Little Rock Club.
When the pitcher's a holding the man on, you like to form the feet fairly close?
Fred, that depends a whole lot on who it is. Of course, if you've got a pitcher who's holding a man on like this now, if he comes way back here, they're going to run, aren't they? And if he goes from there, he's not going to be able to get anything on the ball. So if he gets in here somewhere where he's already a little closer, some pitchers can even get this close. And now go this way, and they've got to get back a little bit in order to get anything on the ball. It's actually better for them to let the man steal second base than it is to let the hitter triple. You know, so you got to get something on the ball, and you got to figure how you can do it and throw it quickly without abbreviating the thing. See, I mean, don't throw it with a half swing, and that's when you're not getting anything on the ball of the hitter then.
Now, you want to eliminate all this.
Well, a little bit of it, yeah, but no more than. But he's got to come back here, at least get his weight on his back foot. See, he can't just stand here and pitch like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, a little like that.
But not.
No, not that. That's a turn. Stand up there, and I'll show you. Just get ready to pitch. Now hold a man on. All right, now start. See, just that. See, not this. Just a little back where
We'll continue with the Paul Richards story in just a moment.
Enjoy the difference, and it's all packed right here. You'll taste the difference every time you pour yourself a glass of Schlitz, because only Schlitz delivers that unmistakable, deep, cool, kiss-of-the-hops flavor. By the bottle or by the case, now's the time to make the move that makes the difference. Move up to Schlitz.
I'll make it. 70?
Pickups are a diabolical little device for flattening stomachs, swelling lungs, and breaking backs. You know, anyone can play. Why don't you try it on your lawn? Try 70.
How many is that? 80. 80? 1, 2, 3. Huh? Whew. That's 170 today, isn't it? Woo! He already done it.
Getting and keeping a pitcher in shape is a manager's everlasting problem. Hurlers will be running like this from now until next October.
Oh. You can have it, Cat.
That's enough, Cat.
Hold it up, that's enough. Run out of gas. Check that time, Cat. I think that's it. It's enough. I'm just tired from running.
Little breather, Cat.
Check that sundial again, Cat. About it, isn't it? We don't want to go overtime now.
Gotta save some for the game, Cat.
We got a game today. Save some.
Paul, what is this game you've got going on out here right now?
Well, it's an improvised game, Bud, that we work out for the pitchers. You'll notice that they don't run to first base, they run to second base. And that primarily is to keep the pitchers any of them from making the long throw to first base, and most of the outs are made on real short throws, to keep them from making a long throw and hurting their arm. And of course it's a little more running, and it's just a scheme on our part to give the pitchers a little extra running under conditions that they more or less enjoy, since it's a contest and ball players like competition of some kind, and all the running you can get under those conditions is just a little extra.
Yeah. Well, do you think it's the ball players like it better if you can put a little competition in instead of just running for no specific purpose?
Yeah, that is the big reason for it. You can get a little more running out of them than you do otherwise.
You just play the two bags? Just the second? It's like
second,
two a cat, isn't it?
Second
To play, or one a cat, those old...
Could be compared to that, however, I don't think it's exactly like it.
No, we didn't have a pitching machine either.
No. You notice we got that machine throwing curves today. Pitchers don't like to hit it curves. Maybe it's a little practice for them.
You know, I've seen so far today, you spend an awful lot of time with pitchers on the base paths, too.
Well, you know, a pitcher who starts the game has a better fielder and a better hitter and a better base runner than the pitcher on the opposing team, under normal circumstances, might be considered to be a run or two better off than his opponent.
That much? You think it means that?
Well, when Bob Lemon, for instance, started the game, while he was pitching, his ability to hit, field, bunt, and run bases gave him an extra ball player in the lineup, and the opposing pitcher had 9 players to pitch against, while Lemon only had 8, so figure it out. And of course, few pitchers are blessed with the batting ability that Lemon had, but there is no excuse for a pitcher not knowing the fundamentals of bunting, base running, and fielding. And then, of course, if he's the better pitcher he is, the better hitter he is, that's just a little added. But we do try to teach our pitchers to be able to field, know what to do with the ball when they get it, according to the situation, 1 out, 2 out, runners on first and third, or the bases full, or a runner on second, or just a runner on first. And there are several and many fundamentals to fielding the pitcher's position that many times is left unstressed, even unheard of, until such time as it has already lost a ball game, which is just a little bit late, if not entirely too late.
Well, you don't have much time. Do you have enough time to start with as many basic fundamentals I've seen you doing here today?
But we take the time to do it. We take the time.
Watching in the stands was the man who first hired Paul as a major league manager.
I signed Paul Richards to manage the Chicago White Sox in 1951. It wasn't just happenstance. I watched Paul at Macon, Georgia. I saw him manage at Atlanta, Georgia, the Southern League. I saw him do a splendid job handling the Buffalo, New York club in the International League. Then in 1950, with a very bad Seattle club in the Pacific Coast League, he did a splendid job. I felt that Paul would make a fine major league manager. I noticed particularly that he had a fine idea about helping pitching. Paul has often said that he could only help a pitcher 5%. He got a lot of credit for the splendid job that Newhouser did in Detroit with the 5%. Well, most coaches and most managers can get the 95%, but it was the little things that other managers didn't discern, that 5% that made Paul a great pitching coach. And of course, primarily, I felt that he was a fine leader of men. He was very patient with kids, and I wanted to raise my own managers, as it were, instead of drawing on the heretofore pool of non-successful major league managers who used to just trade jobs around. So I brought Paul to the Chicago White Sox, and he did a splendid job in 51, 52, 53, and 54. Then he deserted me for what he thought would be greener and better fields, and apparently over at Baltimore they have been. I think he's done a splendid job, and at least he's justified my job in bringing him up from Seattle.
Who is Paul Richards? In 34 years of baseball, he played every position, and he learned to pitch with both hands. In 8 seasons in the majors, he hit just .227. Yet today, he teaches major leaguers to hit. But it was as a catcher with the best seat in the ballpark that he learned his managing craft. His understanding of pitchers carried him into the 1945 World Series to handle fiery Hal Newhouser of the Tigers. The 7th and deciding game may have been Paul's biggest day in baseball so far. A double with the bases loaded in the first inning drove in 3 runs. He doubled later to pace the Tigers to the World's Championship. We'll continue with the Paul Richards story in just a moment.
After a nip-and-tuck battle.
Paul has carried that World Series memory with him to the team he has built in Baltimore. That's Brooks Robinson, number 5, going up the aisle. Brooks was right behind Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle as most valuable player last season. Number 45 there, coming towards us with the dark glasses on, is Jimmy Adair. He played with Paul on the same nationally famous high school team 36 years ago in Waxahachie, Texas. The locker room on this first day with the complete squad here is full of old faces and many new ones, too. Gus Triandos is back. An injured hand which hampered him a year ago is in good shape. And Gus is reaching his prime and is considered one of the best catchers in baseball today. Paul is noted for his very fine pitching staff, and here kidding around with Coach Jimmy Adair is one of his best. Chuck Estrada there, number 23, a right-hander of 21. He tied last season for the most games won in the American League, 18 in his first year out of the minors. These are the players Paul Richards has brought together from the Sandlots, the minor leagues, from other clubs. This is the club which finished second in 1960. These are the makings for 1961.
Paul, what do you feel I should work on this year?
Well, Milton, you know we brought you down here a little early. In fact, a week ahead of the rest of the team, even the pitchers. And for the last few years, you've had a little trouble getting started in the spring and getting yourself in shape, and as most big fellas do. And I feel that the early start can possibly make the difference between 4 or 5 ball games, even with yourself. Because last year, you know, the first 3 games you pitched, you should have won, we'll say, because you had enough runs to win. And I'd like to see you really get yourself in good condition and be in June 1st condition on April the 11th, because that's when the season opens. And if we can take you, your one detail, and maybe improve our double play combination and get a little more defensive play in the outfield, a little better base running, we can pick up 4 or 5 ball games, and that could be the difference. So, and during this time, we'll work on your motion a little bit on a change of pace, but generally, a little better condition, and I think that'll pick up a game or 2, and beginning right with you. So we'll pick her up as we go along.
Anyone visiting the Oriole workouts is struck by the intense flow of activity. If you're used to seeing a couple of bungo hitters on the field, here you'll see 7 or more, everyone working on a specific detail.
Actually, you should be tense about the fundamentals to get any good out of them. I've heard a lot of managers say that more ball players are overcoached than undercoached? Well, the only answer to that, obviously, is this. If the coaching is good, you can't overcoach. If the coaching is bad, the very first word you say, it's overcoaching and it's no good. But if you're telling them the right thing, you can't tell them the right thing too many times. But who decides which is right or wrong? So there's the trick, too.
Lum, how long have you been with Paul Richards, anyway?
Well, I've known him for 20 years, Bud, but I've been a pitcher and a coach for him for 15 years.
Is there anything that, why do you feel he's so successful with ball players?
Well, the best way I know how to explain that is that Paul is a born leader of men, and he's one of the best teachers in baseball. And I mean by that he doesn't have to have a real star in order to teach. He knows how to handle them in and teach fellows that don't have too much ability and make pretty good ball players out of them. He's did that with several pitchers from other ball clubs that supposedly was washed up, and he came back and got 2 or 3 pretty good years out of them.
He's a stickler for detail, too, isn't he?
He's the best I've ever seen. For fungo, like fungo hitting, to all these ball players, right now we have 7 fungo hitters hitting at the same time. And he does that for a reason. Like he does everything for a reason. He's the greatest teacher of fundamentals in baseball, I think. But these, you take 2 fungo hitters and try to hit enough fungos, Bud, for him to get enough work every day, it's impossible with this many men on the field. So he just takes about 7 or 8 fungo hitters at the same time and scatters these boys all over this field, and that's the way they get in an awful lot of work.
Richards is not teaching here as much as finding out what players do not know.
There's a good soft place. Attaboy, Gus. Oh, wait a minute, Gene. Take him down there and get his foot up under him, Fred. Don't slide like that, son. You tear that ankle up before you... Take your shoes off, Gene. That's enough for you, Mickey. Attaboy, keep your hand up and keep your head up a little bit, Dave. See, don't fall back down. Walter? Yes, sir. Go out there with Fred and let him show you how to keep that foot up under you, see? Because you can hurt your ankle that way. All right, Loman, take him around third a while now.
It may come as a surprise to see a veteran like Gene Stevens starting his 8th Major League season going through this kind of fundamental training. But no one is immune from the Richards passion for small details which can change the score of a ball game. That's Marv Breeding number 1 with Walt Dropo. There's Gene Stevens being instructed by Fred Hatfield.
Okay, Wes, come on. Come on, Wes. Come on. Come on. Go ahead. Go ahead. Come on. Hold it. Stay on the back. Stay on the back. Find the ball.
Everything in the Oriole practice is based on a possible game situation. Here the players are becoming accustomed to the signals of third base coach Lum Harris and also doing a lot of running to get in shape.
Very good.
That first day, professional athletes feel it too, just like the rest of us after a long layoff. Arnie Thorslin is a promising young hurler, and here he has a shin splint. Hoyt Wilhelm, a relief pitcher 11 years ago with the world champion Giants, is now a top-notch starter for Richards. Fellows like Hoyt and Gordon Jones here in the steam bath lend balance to a young team. Looks a little warm. That's Gus Triandos right there on the table. And lying beside him here is Walt Dropo, now an 11-year veteran first sacker, getting a rub down. Walt, the great all-around athlete, is noted for hitting the long ball. That first day is tough. Even the young Robinson, here under a hot sheet, is remembering muscles he had forgotten during the long winter layoff. We'll be seeing Paul working with his young infield in just a minute.